That's for my crazy day. My packed commute, all those unread emails in my inbox. But I'm getting stronger, faster, and pushing myself further every day. I don't care if I'm not like everyone else. This punching bag is the best way to end my day. Whew.
Fearless is knowing yoga isn't your style. That's the power of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Federal Employee Program. Learn more about our healthy benefits at fepblue.org/getmore.
Yeah, eat, sleep, fantasy, you rockin' with the best. NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. We talking mock drafts, running backs, better follow the conversation with Dale, Christian, and Armando. Screaming Eat Nation, we doing what we like. Tune in every week, guarantee we get it hype. Fantasy, football enthusiasts, I know you plan to be joining us on Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Yeah, Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Eat, Sleep, Fantasy.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Eat Sleep Fantasy Football Podcast, also known as the Catfish of Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Christian Brito, and joining me, as always, on our number one fantasy football podcast is Dale DeMott. What's up, Dale?
Yeah, man, we are the Catfish of Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm not really sure where you're going with this because catfish and catfished are two different things. But if we are the catfish, man, this is taking way too long to explain what I'm thinking. But I kind of think that you think we're going to be talking about one thing, and we end up talking about something completely different. So
and you could say that's a catfish, by the way. You don't have to say like you got catfished. You could say that is a catfish.
But if we're actually talking about actual catfish, like the actual fish with whiskers, then
do you like catfish, by the way?
It's not my favorite. I grew up on eating a lot of seafood, but
right,
I'm not a huge catfish lover.
I love the
mainly
seafood diet.
Mainly because I grew up fishing off of saltwater, and saltwater catfish are disgusting.
Okay,
so
all right,
saltwater catfish. If you open their if you cut open their heads, they have little stones on the top of their head.
I didn't know that. Also, we probably offended a lot of people in the South that really like catfish.
Oh yeah, catfish is great.
Yeah, catfish with, I don't know. It consistently, you need hot sauce with catfish for me.
Yeah, and grits, because it's a Southern thing, right?
I don't know about the grits. I'm not a huge fan of grits.
I don't like.
Just
grits
offended
either.
a whole nother.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Half the people that listen to us, everybody from basically Tennessee South, just hung up on us.
All the way up until you get to South Florida, then it's different.
Yeah,
it's a different country down here.
Yep.
Anyways.
Yep.
But anyways, I wasn't going for that kind of catfish. I was going for exactly what you said. People expect us to talk about fantasy football, but instead we talk about fish.
Yep. You guys just got catfished.
And
let me do that again. You just got catfished.
Oh damn! No, he didn't. I probably should.
Did that work?
Great. Yeah, that was fantastic.
We have a really good show for you guys today. We're going to talk about some targets,
some trends,
some touches, some snap counts, everything you need to know from last week heading into this week.
Snap counts with a Z.
Really, it's just looking at trends. Really,
opportunities with a Z.
Yep. We're looking at trends. Really, we're looking at the last few weeks and kind of analyzing a little bit of analysis and telling you guys what we think about some of the trends that we're seeing.
Yep.
Le'Veon Bell is getting a ton of targets, touches, snaps, and that's a trend that will continue, for example.
Okay. That's good.
Before we get started, I want to just say a couple things. One, first and foremost, we appreciate everybody tuning in, listening to us. The reception from all you guys have been awesome. We really, really appreciate it. It makes us doing this that much fun when we hear, when we hear from you guys, whether it's email, through our voicemail 507-69-SLEEP, through our live shows, all that stuff. We're doing it all basically just to validate our lives. And so when you tell us that we're doing a good job through an iTunes review or through an email or something, it means a lot. We don't get a chance to get back to everybody, but I just want to take the chance really quick here to tell you thank you. We appreciate all the feedback and all the interaction that we have with everybody.
Thank you for taking the chance on us.
Yes.
And if you like us, like Dale mentioned briefly, review us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review. Just type in fantasy football. We'll be the first thing that pops up on desktop. So 5-star review. Tell us why you like us.
Yep.
And if you don't like us, send us an email. Don't put it on iTunes, please.
We have 2 things really quick. 5-minute member, we're going to give away something at the end of the month. We're going to look through everybody. Every time we tweet, if you can reply to us within 5 minutes with hashtag 5-minute member, we will put your name in a drawing, put your name in the hat, and we will give away something. Maybe a T-shirt or something like that. We're not promising anything right now, but it'll be nice.
Probably a T-shirt.
Yeah, probably. Also,
most likely a T-shirt.
Also, I started a contest without even talking to Brito or Armando, but I just went ahead and did it. If you carve an Eat Sleep Fantasy themed pumpkin, not too many people are going to do it because pumpkins are expensive nowadays. But if you're going to waste a pumpkin and do something Eat Sleep Fantasy themed, we are giving away a T-shirt for that as well. All you have to do is do it by midnight on Halloween, and we'll check it all out. The best one will win something cool. Again, probably a T-shirt. Also, I kind of feel like I got a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, it's all giving stuff away, so people shouldn't be too mad. We're thinking about getting out some new merchandise. You know, we did the decals, and again, thank you to everybody repping us and putting it on their trucks and all that good stuff, coolers and all that. But we're thinking about maybe doing koozies next. We want some feedback. So if there's anything like cheap that we can make, you know, I'm not talking about, you know, giving away more shirts or anything crazy, but you know, something like a koozie or something like that. If you guys think of anything creative that we can give away, let us know.
Mom?
Email us or something. No, not my mom. Jeez, that's mean.
That was mean. I'm sorry.
And at the end of the episode, we are going to call Jay Cutler. I have his number, so I'm going to call him and I'll conduct an interview with him. That should be fun. I hope it is, but we're going to save it to the end just in case it's not very good. Maybe people will bow out by that time. But Jay Cutler, good friend of mine, and we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
All right.
So before we get into the targets and touches, let's just quickly get into the news.
Yes. Oh, hold on.
Noticia 23.
What does that mean again, Dale?
News 23.
Nice. Good job. All right. First piece of news here that I want to talk about is that Greg Olsen is nearing a return to practice. All reports are that he probably won't practice this week, but he should be starting back into practice next week. And, you know, timeline right now, as it's looking right now, I think he'll be back probably not for week 8, not for week 9, but probably a week 10 return. What are you doing? Are you going out and buying Greg Olsen with the struggles of the Carolina offense?
No, I'm not. I mean, I think there's good enough streaming options at tight end to not really worry about him and buy him right now. I guess my whole thing is just taking up a spot on the bench. This late in the season, you need to start securing your guys for the playoffs and securing some solid pieces to help you out. I'd rather have somebody like, I don't know, even like it's Jack Doyle or something taking up my tight end spot rather than Jack Doyle and Greg Olsen.
Okay. So let's say, where do I go with this here? Let's say you are, and I don't agree if I'm the Jack Doyle owner. I think Jack Doyle has been very subpar this season because of the lack of Andrew Luck.
Sure.
So let's say you are the Jack Doyle owner. Okay. You're not trading for Olsen, you're saying?
I'm not. Maybe somebody worse than Jack Doyle. I mean, I just think that I don't like wasting a whole nother roster spot on somebody like that. I mean, there's guys out there like Jalen Richard, or I don't know what, even Elijah McGuire, as just Dante Foreman. Those guys, I think, could do more help on your bench as security, other than what Greg Olson's going to give you.
The tight end position as a whole, it's not been great this season. You're looking at, there are five players that have scored in a standard league at least 50 fantasy points at the tight end position. And that's Ertz, Gronkowski, Kelsey, Brate, and Ingram. That's it. That's the list. Evan Ingram, the surprising person on that list for me.
Yep.
Outside of that, you just have a bunch of guys, and you're just hoping that maybe you get a touchdown at the end of the week.
Exactly.
For most guys, that's not going to happen. So you're just hoping for maybe 50 yards. I think Greg Olson is in that category, even with the struggles of the offense. I think he is in that category. And if you can stash him on your bench, especially if you're in a league like, for example, our league of record, where there's a reserve spot that you can slot in a guy like Olson, I think he's worth pursuing, because you could still get him pretty cheap because there's a lot of uncertainty around him. And I believe he will be back at full strength within the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
So
here, let me give you a scenario. I think this is a good little exercise. Are you going to drop Alan Hearns for Olson?
yes.
Okay. Would you drop Robbie Anderson for Olson?
Yes.
Okay. Would you drop Sammy Watkins for Olson?
No.
Okay,
Maybe.
So,
You know what? Depending on your composition of your team, but you could probably safely do it. Yes.
Okay. Ted Ginn?
No. Ted Ginn is going to have a good season.
Yeah.
His season's just getting started.
I believe so too. Okay, let me go through some running backs. Would you drop Isaiah Crowell for Greg Olson?
No.
Tariq Cohen?
Running backs is tough for me to drop a running back. I think the wide receiver position is so replaceable that I would drop a top, I would drop
50.
a top 40, top 50 wide receiver like Robbie Anderson, and be okay with it, because you can just replace that like nothing. Like if I drop Robbie Anderson, the next week I could pick up Kenny Stills, I can pick up Danny Amendola, I can pick up Sterling, Shepard,
Even somebody like
whatever.
Robert Woods or something, right?
You know what I mean? Like, yeah exactly. There's plenty of players that I could pick up. The Devontae Parker owner probably already bailed on him and he's dropped. Jermaine Kearse is out there in a ton of leagues.
I just have a hard time.
Cohen is on that line for me.
I got you.
But yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I just have a hard time rostering two tight ends. That's
But
fine.
okay, if it's a league like our league, and I don't want to spend too much more time on it, where you can put him in your IR spot, or you can put him in your reserve, your injured spot,
Sure.
100%. Go out there, grab him. He's definitely worth it. He could be a type of guy. Like for example, in my keeper league, I'm having a great season. I think I'm going to make the playoffs. If I didn't have Travis Kelce, I would 100% make this move like yesterday, because I think he will be very good down the stretch. I don't personally need him. Maybe I'm talking to you.
Right. I got you.
Yeah. So that's it. That's the news on him.
Okay.
Marshawn Lynch, not that he's been great this season, but for those of you that are relying on him, first of all, bless your soul. You're probably 2-5. But his 1-game suspension has been upheld. I don't know what just happened with my words there.
Yeah.
But he will not be playing this Sunday.
Okay.
A couple of other just quick injury news. Devontae Parker, while he did practice this week, seems like a true questionable for Thursday. My opinion is that he will not be a go, which is good news for the Kenny Stills and the Kenny Stills owners, because I think Landry's still going to get work regardless. And that's that. Jay Ajayi logged a full practice and should be ready to go for Thursday night football.
Christian, speaking of Jay Ajayi, why don't you tell the listeners who Jay Ajayi is outrushed this year so far?
Yeah, so I wanted to quickly, before we get done with the news, actually go through some very interesting running back stats that, just jumped off the page to me when I looked at them today, because it's pretty surprising. So at the top of the rushing list, we have Kareem Hunt, we've got Lev Bell, we've got, Todd Gurley. There's no surprise there. But Jay Ajayi this season has more rushing yards than Devonta Freeman, than Melvin Gordon, than Carlos Hyde, than Lamar Miller, than C.J. Anderson, than DeMarco Murray, than LaShawn McCoy. It's a huge list. Jay Ajayi, if you had to take a guess, where do you think he would rank in terms of rushing yards for running backs this season?
I mean, based off that list, I don't know, 5?
He's seventh in rushing yards this season.
That's nuts.
And if you look at fantasy points, he's not in the top 25.
Yeah.
So something is really not right, because he has 0 rushing touchdowns, even though he has 442 rushing yards on the season. So you're looking at a running back, he's 31st in terms of fantasy points. To me, something about that has to correct itself. Now, the biggest issue that's going on with him is that offensive line. So he's going to be very hit and miss. On Sunday, he rushed for 51 yards. That's not good. But 49 of those yards came after contact.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah. Like, he's doing his job. The offensive line is not.
Yeah, well, not only the offensive line, but the Dolphins aren't getting close enough to the end zone for Ajayi to pay off.
But here's the thing:
if they're playing inside the 40s all the time,
the offense with Matt Moore, like, anyone with their eyes can see that offense is not the same with Matt Moore.
Yeah,
like, Jay Cutler has not been good for this Dolphins offense. Matt Moore, the points per quarter, I guess, because that's the best way to look at it, because he hasn't played a full game, were more than double what you got under Jay Cutler to start the season.
I'm going to ask Jay Cutler about that too.
So definitely something to look at. A couple more things that I want to mention. So far this season, Kareem Hunt, this is a stat that kind of blew my mind, already over 1,000 total yards on the season.
Is that crazy? I mean,
it's a little crazy.
Look, I mean, yes, it's a lot, but is it crazy?
It's not crazy. I mean, he's on pace for well over 2,000. So
yeah, total. You said total yards, correct?
Total yards, 717 rushing yards.
Right.
Yeah, Todd Gurley on the season, 8 total touchdowns. I think that's kind of crazy.
That is nuts.
No.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it. Melvin Gordon's another one that pops off the list because he's outside the top 10 in terms of rushing yards, but his 7 touchdowns are putting him at 6th amongst fantasy points, because somehow or another he ends up scoring. It's really crazy to me that he's not doing well. Like, his rush, he's rushed for under 40 yards 3 times this season, under 55 yards 4 times this season in his 7 games. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not good. He's passed 100 yards once this season.
Yep.
And yet he's the number 6 running back, because touchdowns always bail him out.
Yep. I agree.
That guy's not a good running back. I just want to say that for the record.
Who are you talking about?
Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, I agree. I've always held Melvin Gordon.
Love-hate relationship with that guy.
Yeah. Only averaging less than 3.5 yards per carry this year.
All right.
Is that it?
Oh, and the 2 receiving leaders amongst running backs, Chris Thompson and Christian McCaffrey. I don't think there's too much of a surprise there, but 3rd on that list and 4th are the guys that I think are very interesting, Duke Johnson and Todd Gurley. Gurley is catching the ball more than he ever has, and he's looking very impressive in the receiving game, which is not something that I fully believed in, but this change in offensive philosophy has been great for him. And I just want to, mention Duke, because I think Duke Johnson in PPR leagues moving forward, you could just put him in there and forget about it. Like, I don't think it's a matchup thing anymore. I think consistently he's going to get you enough points that you can feel comfortable starting him as an RB2.
Yeah. Okay.
I know it's, 2 weeks where production's not fantastic, but always going to get you those catches and receiving yards. 6 catches this past week. On an abysmal game, 6 catches for 45 yards. That's fantastic in a PPR league.
Yep.
Every single week.
For sure.
All right, done.
Cool. All right.
Should like that.
By the way, we get all our news from Playerline. It's an app that basically aggregates all the news channels, such as
News was the word you were looking for.
I'm sorry.
News.
Yeah, news
Is the word you're looking for.
It aggregates all the news from all different channels and puts it all into one app. It's pretty cool. Definitely check it out if you want up to date stuff. If you don't have to go around checking all different sources, it all puts it all into one place for you. So it's pretty cool. All right, Christian, I'm going to go through some of these trends and touch and target and numbers or whatever. We need a good name for this because we don't have a good name for it. But I'll go through them. If there's somebody that you want to talk about, you can stop me or we can keep moving on.
Okay.
All right. The first guy I want to talk about, the first guy I want to bring up is Adrian Peterson. Doesn't have Carson Palmer anymore. I think that makes their whole offense just horribly dysfunctional. Adrian Peterson only had 11 carries last game. Andre Ellington didn't play. He was inactive. And then Kerwin Williams just had 2 receptions. So what do you see from Adrian Peterson? Is this worth talking about? I think any kind of upside that Adrian Peterson had is gone with Carson Palmer gone. Do you agree?
I agree.
Okay.
I think he's going to keep getting a lot of work, though. I mean, I know it was only 11 rushing attempts this week. 26 the week before.
Look,
a lot of work.
It's
I think in a very abysmal offense. It'll be hit and miss. You kind of have to hope that he scores.
Yeah. It's going to be game. It's going to be game script, and this team's going to be down a lot. There's not going to be a lot of room for rushing.
But I'll give you one encouraging stat because you're being very discouraging to the Peterson owners.
Sure.
Here's the encouraging stat.
Okay.
Only one Arizona running back received carries, and that was Adrian Peterson.
Right. Yeah. So I guess that's good. I'd rather have Amir Abdullah. I would even have Duke Johnson, Christian McCaffrey over Adrian Peterson at this point.
Give me McCaffrey over him. Who was the second guy?
Duke Johnson.
Give me Duke Johnson, but I think I'd rather have Peterson over Abdullah.
Fair. It's probably pretty close, but I don't know. I lost faith in Adrian Peterson.
Bordered somewhere right in between a low-end RB2 and a high-end flex guy.
Sure. The next,
maybe not even that. Low-end RB2, high-end RB3, but there might be weeks that you're not even willing to flex that. So
okay, fair enough. All right. I feel like we talk about the Baltimore Ravens backfield.
I don't want to do it anymore.
Look, Buck Allen was the touch leader for the week. Alex Collins was pretty close, but did not get the same amount of snaps. Had about half the amount of snaps that Buck Allen played. Alex Collins had 10 carries for 30 yards. I don't know. Like, I have Alex Collins, and I'll play him if I have to. If you have Buck Allen, you play him if you have to, but these guys are not going to save your week or your season.
Unless you're in a PPR league, because those 8 catches make a huge difference for the Buck Allen owner.
Yes.
Because 29 receiving yards, no one.
How do you get 8
is
receptions in less than 30 yards? God.
Wasn't there a game, I want to say last year, that TJ Yeldon had like 10 catches for like 11 yards or 13 yards or something like that?
Right.
I got to look that up, but 8 catches for 29 yards. That's pretty bad. But in a PPR league, you're loving it. And I think he's still, man, this offense is just as bad as the Arizona offense. And Joe Flacco's he's the worst fantasy quarterback in the NFL. Like, he just is.
Yep.
And this offense is not good, but I think for me, the clear only worthwhile piece is still Buck Allen. I think if you're in a PPR format, you can continue to roll him out as a flex and be okay. It's not a high scoring flex, but you can still do it and be okay.
Yep. The next guy I want to talk about here, such a disappointment here. I was high on Zay Jones for the week. The dude had 30%, nearly 30% of the team's targets, 9 targets for Zay Jones,
Right.
with only 2 receptions.
Right. You should have been higher on your other boy,
Yeah.
your actual boy.
Yeah, Deontay Thompson. Deontay Thompson had 4 catches, 4 targets for 107 yards. Let's talk about this a little bit because this is really intriguing. So Zay Jones, 9 targets, 2 receptions. The dude has 7 catches with 32 total targets for the season. I can't play Zay Jones. I don't know if he's even rosterable at this point. Deontay Thompson, I think, could play a bigger role, but really Jordan Matthews, I know he came back and played over 80% of the plays for Buffalo, but Jordan Matthews, I think, is going to get it going soon. He came back better or sooner than expected anyways this week, so maybe next week he had a protective glove on and all that stuff. He might still have it on, but maybe you just get in a better game flow. Jordan Matthews is the receiver to own if you're going to own a Buffalo Bill. Not counting Shady.
Shady, who's still leading them in receiving yards, which is crazy. Yeah, man, but there's not a weapon in that offense that I think is worth even, honestly, as a wide receiver, having on your roster.
Right.
Jordan Matthews is a wide receiver 4, so maybe he's on your roster, but you're never gonna play him. Like,
I think between, and I know this is crazy, between Matthews and Thompson, Deontay Thompson, I still believe in him. I know it's crazy, whatever.
Right.
Between one of these guys, it's going to be a huge breakout, and somebody is going to emerge and be really valuable on this offense. One of these wide receivers are going to emerge, and we're going to see several 100-yard games, 1 or 2 touchdown games. This, they have a really good schedule for the rest of the season. Really good schedule. There's no reason why one of these guys aren't going to emerge and save you. I really think Jordan Matthews is worth holding on to. Do you not agree?
I do not agree.
Okay.
I think the only time he's going to be valuable is maybe if you're ballsy enough to play him in the playoffs because his schedule is fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, the total that we were looking for last season was 8 catches for 10 yards for TJ Yeldon.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
So
We could touch on this really quick. Jonathan's... What? Go ahead.
touch on this.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about touches.
Yes. Jonathan Stewart, Christian McCaffrey. Jonathan Stewart is still, I guess, quote unquote, the lead back. He doubled McCaffrey's carries, but they each had 14 touches because McCaffrey caught the ball had 7 receptions as well.
Right.
Christian McCaffrey has been a sneaky, not very sneaky, I guess, but has been a good PPR running back this year. 9 targets, 7 receptions.
Like I mentioned, third in the league amongst running backs in terms of reception yards. But I could have told you that before the season started.
Right. Yeah. Cam Newton is just so up and down with his play. Really frustrating, especially for a Cam Newton owner like myself. Very frustrating. The team goes as he goes, and that's just kind of the way it's going to be. I don't know what's going on with Cam, but it's frustrating, and you can't predict it.
I just want to say, if you're in a PPR league, McCaffrey is super, uber valuable. It's different because a lot of you guys I know still playing in standard leagues, and that's okay. And a lot of leagues that I play in are half. McCaffrey already has 44 catches on the season through 7 games.
Yeah,
that's the difference, right? And he's averaging 47 yards receiving a game. I know the rushing yards are brutal, averaging 16 rushing yards a game, but he's basically a slot receiver playing the running back position. So that's how you have to look at it. Look at him very similarly to how you might look at Duke Johnson.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
They're basically the same guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
For fantasy purposes right now, for PPR leagues. Standard, it's going to be a little rough, I think.
Tariq Cohen is pretty much on the bottom of your bench, borderline droppable if you need a player. He only had 3 targets, didn't carry the ball, played just 6 snaps for the Bears last week.
Right.
The crazy thing is the one reception he did get was a 70-yard touchdown.
Right. I don't think he's droppable just simply because, like you mentioned, he is that explosive playmaker. He will have good weeks. And I think, we've seen that offense prove how much they want to give work to the running backs. Now, I know most of that, the grand majority of that is going to go to Jordan Howard, but I think there will be weeks where Cohen will be valuable, and I think he's still, he's an RB4, and in most leagues, I think you should be rostering at least 50 running backs in even a 10-team league. So, he's even in a 10-team league. I think you should be holding on to him.
Yeah. It's worth mentioning. I know I said Tariq Cohen did not get a touchdown on a 70-yard reception, but it is worth noting that Mitchell Trubisky only threw 7 passes and
completed. Or was it 4 completions out of 7?
Yeah, I think it was
Correct.
4 completions out of 7.
Yeah.
So
I think you're right.
Yeah. So that's the way the Bears offense is rolling. But hey, and in that offense, when you have somebody getting the ball 21 times as Jordan Howard is, that's a guy to own, obviously, on that roster.
How many completions do you think Trubisky has in the last 2 weeks?
Completions, I would say 15.
12. Through 3 games, Mitchell Trubisky has 24 completions. Yeah. He's averaging 8 completions a game. And they're going down every week. 12, then 8, then 4. So next week, he's going to go 2 for 8.
Yeah.
His career passing high is 128 passing yards.
Yeah.
You cannot rely on anything to do with the receiving game for the Bears.
Yep. We are pretty sure and pretty confident it's week 8. It's time to not roster Jeremy Hill or Giovanni Bernard. Do you agree?
I agree.
Yeah, okay. Joe Mixon is a guy there. Blah, blah, blah.
Not a very good guy, but he is the guy.
Isaiah Crowell finally did something, at least. 71 yards total, 35 rushing yards, and 36 receiving yards, it looks like.
But that's more or less what Crow has been and what he will continue to be, is a 6 or 7 point guy.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not pretty.
Nope.
And if he's not scoring, it's not worth owning.
Right. It's worth noting, too, Duke Johnson had 7 receptions on 13 targets.
Yeah, so this is Crowell's standard league fantasy points the last 3 weeks. 6.7, 7.3, 7.1. He's the exact same guy every single week. If he doesn't score a touchdown, which he hasn't all season, he's not worth, playing. So unless they can figure out their offensive woes, which I don't think they will, because that quarterback position is terrible. They lost their best offensive lineman in Joe Thomas to what is believed to be a triceps tear. And, I don't think there's any reason to ever play Isaiah Crowell unless you're, all your other options are on bye and you just need to put him in there.
Yeah.
As an RB2 because you want 7 points because that's what you're going to get.
Yep. Let's move on to...
Yep, that's exactly how everybody starting Isaiah Crowell feels. Yeah. All right, 7 points. I'm good with it.
If there was a panic button, I have my hand hovering over it with C.J. Anderson.
That offense is bad.
That offense sucks so bad, and it's limiting C.J. Anderson so much. I mean, he had 10 carries for 44 yards, but that's all he could manage all game, 10 carries, and he's a lead back. Nobody else is doing anything. Nobody else is threatening C.J. Anderson at all, so we could get that out of the way.
Are you sure about that?
100%.
Because Charles had 8 touches, Booker had 5 touches, C.J. Anderson had 11. I'm looking at that and I'm seeing, okay, there's 24 total touches in the backfield, and C.J. Anderson only got 11 of them.
Well, when we're looking at carries let's just look at snap percentage first of all. Jamal Charles is playing half the plays that C.J. Anderson is. Does that
Okay.
make my case a little bit there?
Yeah, but you got to also factor in like Booker's still getting work too. Like it's not pretty, and I don't think it's going to be pretty for most of the games this season because that offense is so limited. It doesn't help that Sanders is out because that offense has traditionally been. We have 2 wide receivers. They're 2, very, very good NFL wide receivers, and that's going to, at least allow us to have the threat of running the ball as well. But that's it. Like if they only have Demaryius Thomas, that whole offense is completely limited. And Trevor Siemian is not looking good.
Yeah. I mean, they just need to stay in the game. Their defense hasn't played as great as they are, and Trevor Siemian has sucked. But C.J. Anderson played 38 snaps compared to Jamal Charles, played 15 snaps. So less than half of what C.J. Anderson is playing. I like that trend, and that's been about what Jamal Charles has done all season, just around there. So C.J. Anderson, I think, will be just fine. But like I said, I do have my hand hovering over that panic button because I don't know. A.J. Derby, I know you mentioned Sanders being out. A.J. Derby did have 7 targets and 6 receptions.
That's 100% a product of just Sanders is out.
Yeah.
Sanders is looking like he might play this week. He's they've already changed the tone on him. They last week they were like he's week to week. This week they're saying he's day to day. I'd say he's probably going to be a real questionable by the end of the week. And I'm leaning towards the side of he won't play this week and he'll be back next week.
Yeah. Worth mentioning here, Aaron Jones, it's a real deal for the Packers. Mm-hmm. Not only did he get 17 carries, but he also, co-led the team in targets with 5. So
right.
Ty Montgomery is like a thing of the past.
Hey, I said this to start the season. Like, Montgomery has not been a lead back. Yep. I said he might get hurt. Yep. I said he'd probably be good when he's a starter. And then this week I said this was still going to be an Aaron Jones week this past week.
Yeah.
You guys didn't believe me, man. Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah. I if it wasn't for Ty Montgomery's injury, Ty Montgomery would still be very, very valuable in fantasy football.
I don't think his days are done. I really don't. I think Ty Montgomery is still a talented back who will get some work. I just don't think he was ready to get that work. And Aaron Jones has been good, so why mess with a good thing? But Green Bay is probably going to use, as much as this has not been their tradition, I think they're probably going to use a hot hand approach just because of how these backs have actually been performing pretty well this season.
I personally like Aaron Jones rest of the season. I'm excited to play him when I need to. And I play him with confidence.
All right. Did you want?
No.
Okay.
No, I was just going to go to the next.
You don't want my opinion?
Well, I was debating whether or not to talk about Frank Gore.
There's nothing to say about Frank Gore.
Yeah. It's stash Marlon Mack, but do with what you want. I don't know.
Do what you want.
Stash Marlon Mack. Frank Gore doesn't do anything for me.
Frank Gore is an RB3. Frank Gore is Isaiah Crowell with sometimes touchdowns. It's the same guy.
Yeah.
Like Isaiah Crowell. I did this every week, okay? But this is Frank Gore's rushing yards this season. You can't the more it goes on, the less and less I believe in Frank Gore, and the more I believe in Marlon Mack. Eventually, this will be Mack's job completely. But this is Frank Gore's rushing yards this season. 42, 46, 57, 46, 48, 49, 34. That's not startable, man.
Yeah.
And people are still rolling this dude out every week.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Pick up Marlon Mack. I think eventually he'll be the guy, but even then, like, this offense is not good enough to sustain those running backs. And, that one good week that you saw against San Fran, everybody can do it against San Fran. I don't have hope for either one of these running backs. Just move on.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for depressing me with this fucking shitstorm of a running back position.
Demarcus Robinson co-led the team in targets, co-led the Kansas City Chiefs. He played over 90% of the snaps last game. Is he worth?
I don't think so. I think this is just one of those things where you have, some injuries in the wide receiving core, and there's some extra looks for Robinson. I don't think he's, part of what's going to be good about this offense. Kareem Hunt is an RB1, Tyreek Hill is a wide receiver 1, Travis Kelce is a tight end 1, and nobody else is really important in this offense. Alex Smith, legit quarterback 1.
I haven't went to another podcast. We are still doing our live show on Friday. You can look at our ugly faces as we talk, or you can just listen to us on podcast form. You can call in and all that good stuff in that.
And I know you're about to give Jay Cutler a call. But before we do that, I want to tell our listeners about one of our sponsors, Draft, and basically the Draft app or playdraft.com. For me, one of the best ways, if not the best way to play daily fantasy football is doing so with Draft. They've got over 500,000 downloads already this season, players that are playing. I personally love it. I've made money every single week with Draft except for one. It's my favorite way to play daily. Use our promo code EATSLEEPFANTASY. That'll get you into a free entry into a real-life money game, a $3 game. And you can follow Dale, ESF Dale, me, ESF Brito. We're doing a bunch of those every single week. Promo code EATSLEEPFANTASy. And they're doing a money-back promotion. Like, you can up to $100 you deposit. If you don't like what you're doing and you really don't enjoy playing Draft, which I really doubt it, you can ask for your money back. Who the hell else is doing that? Like, they really believe in their product, and so do I.
Yeah, we don't even do that.
Because we'd be more broke than we are now.
You know how many returns we would have if somebody had to actually pay for this podcast and they listen to it? Man, it would not be good.
Not good.
We'd definitely be in the red. More in the red than we already are.
We are in the red, but it'd be bill collectors and
yes, yep, it would be bad.
It would be really bad.
So
right.
Christian,
there'd be envelopes that are open just enough for you to be able to see the words in red past due.
Yeah.
How come TV shows always do that? Like,
yeah.
They're always open just enough, torn just enough for you to be able to see a big red past due.
By the way, Christian, really quick before we go, you're probably too young. I wonder if our listeners remember Denver, the Last Dinosaur.
Denver,
There's
the
a cartoon.
Last Dinosaur. I do not.
So strange how things like it. The mind is crazy, right? Like, I have not thought about Denver, the Last Dinosaur for decades probably, and all of a sudden I was playing with my daughter and she has a little dinosaur and I call her Dino, and I said, oh look, playing with her, Dino the dinosaur, and then I just started singing the song Denver the Last Dinosaur. Like, it just came to me all of a sudden. It was so weird how it just like pops up, and then I'm like singing like Denver the Last Dinosaur, and it's like, where did I get that from? It's so weird, but it was, anyways, I think it was like an 80s cartoon, probably a Saturday morning cartoon, I think, but
this show was on for not even 2 months.
Really? No.
First episode air date September 12th, 1988. Last episode air date November 22nd, 1988.
Are you sure?
I'm looking at it right now.
What the hell?
They ran reruns until 1990, and that's it.
That is really weird. Here, Denver Last Dinosaur. This is what it sounds like. really bad. Okay, that goes on. It looks like a horrible
That sounds
cartoon, actually. Just looking at
really
the trailer,
bad.
just looking at the intro. What's really weird is
That sounds really bad.
he's your friend and a whole lot more. What does that mean?
Yeah.
There's something weird going on with this dinosaur.
Your best friend.
He's your friend and a whole lot more. Like if somebody told you, "Hey, Christian, I'm your friend and a whole lot more," that probably means they wanna be closer friends, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You know what was a good show, though? Dinosaurs.
Yeah, with Not the Mama.
Yes.
One day we should rank all the dinosaur shows. Barney, Dinosaurs, Denver Lost Dinosaur.
Right. Can we just do dinosaur like related media? Because like number 1, Jurassic Park.
Yes. Oh, of course. Yeah, that's not even a question.
Number 2, Land Before Time.
Oh God, I hated those cartoons.
There's like 15 of
I
those
know,
movies.
and they were every single one of them were really sad. I remember. I think as a little kid, I cried like over and over again to them.
Barney's got to be top 5.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah.
And then you got to go into like famous dinosaurs, because then you got like Dino from the Flintstones.
Yep, for sure. You're good with this dinosaur stuff.
Thank you.
I don't know any other dinosaur movies or anything.
I think I'm done there.
All right. We need to get into the call with Jay Cutler. I will call him in a second. Is there anything else you want to add before? Look, I want to put this Jay Cutler phone call because I'm going to call him. I don't know if it's going to be good or bad.
Is Godzilla a dinosaur?
More of a monster.
Let me just.
Godzilla
Google what
is,
Godzilla is.
definitely a monster.
But like,
Yeah.
Godzilla is a monster originating from a series of tokusatsu films. Species dinosaur-like is what it says. He's a giant reptilian monster, and the species just says dinosaur-like.
Interesting.
So, I think we could put him in the category for the purposes of we're running out of things to add to the list. So,
Here you go.
if we add him to the list, he's top 5, right?
He's a really big dinosaur. Has over 60 sharp teeth. Ouch! Tyrannosaurus Rex, he has a huge jaw. How does he brush so many teeth?
I don't know why I played that. I apologize to our listeners.
Why did you do that? Why didn't you close the episode with that?
Well, because it says dinosaur song for kids brushing their teeth. I clicked it. I don't know why.
That might be very useful for the kids that I work with, by the
Yeah,
way.
you can do that. You could sing to
Yeah,
them.
you got to send that to me, actually.
All right. So we're going to talk to Jay Cutler. I'm going to call him. Again, I'm nervous because I know him, but I never really talked to him about football. So I'm a little nervous. I'm putting it at the end of the episode because it could be really, really bad. I'm kind of hoping that most people have tuned out by now. And I'm saying it's so bad, I think people are now going to really think it's really bad. And so it's a lose-lose for us.
Oh, and Rex from Toy Story.
Oh,
Reptar from Rugrats.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He was a dinosaur, right? He was
Yeah,
T-Rex,
yeah.
I think.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
All right, Christian, thank you for joining me today's episode of the Targets and Touches. We got through most of them, not every single player, but if we talk about every player, you guys would get really bored. Again, hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Twitter is probably the most easily accessible to us, but you can always follow us on everything. You can email us, contact@EatSleepFantasy, and go to our website, eatsleepfantasy.com. For Christian Brito, I'm Dale. Thanks for listening, and let's give Jake Cutler a call.
This is Jay.
Hey, Jay Cutler, this is Dale DeMott from Eat Sleep Fantasy. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Good. Hey, man.
What's Eat Sleep Fantasy?
Yeah, Eat Sleep Fantasy. We're a fantasy football podcast. We are currently ranked number 1 on iTunes, on desktop iTunes. I don't know if you listen to podcasts or not, but thank you for taking our call.
Yeah, man, it's whatever.
Hey, we just got a couple quick questions for you. I know I don't want to waste too much of your time, but we do appreciate you coming on. I guess the first question I want to ask is, what do you say to the fan base, to the Miami Dolphins fan base that says you don't care?
Well, I'd say, you know what, I try not to think about that too much. No, I don't want to really care about that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of seems like a theme for you. I mean, your play this season has not been, you haven't played very well. What do you say about the season so far, and your recovery from the injury? How are you going to recover?
Well, I would say that maybe look at that offensive line. People have a lot to say about the quarterback, but they can't block for me.
Wow. You were blaming the offensive line for your bad play, and it has nothing to do with you?
Well, I kind of need time to throw. So.
Wow. Are you smoking right now?
Maybe.
Jay Cutler, you can't be. You're in the middle of the season. It's bad for your health you keep doing this stuff. You got to, get healthy and not smoke and be able to run around.
Gase is cool with it.
How is the relationship with you and Adam Gase, by the way? He seems to love you for some reason. I see that Matt Moore is playing very well, and we're expecting him to play well this upcoming week. What is your relationship with Adam Gase?
First of all, before I answer that question, don't you fucking talk about Matt Moore.
Do you and Matt Moore not get along or something?
Who are you guys?
Look.
Anyways. Gase, me and Gase, we go way back.
When you're smoking, you don't have to smoke into the phone, Jay Cutler.
Okay, let's calm down with the smoking, okay? All right.
People.
I heard it's good for my ribs.
Okay. So tell us about Adam Gase.
Sorry, my beard itches. Gase, you gotta love the guy. For some reason, he loves me, and he's willing to pay me $10 million to come here and play quarterback.
Is that the only reason? Is that the only reason you decided to unretire and play football? Is for the money?
I don't know, man. $10 million is a lot of money. So then, if I can, just kind of make it through the season, if this offensive line will let me not be injured, I'll be fine.
It really sounds like you really don't care about anything.
I don't like your tone, and I don't really care about this podcast.
Jeez. Okay, well, Jay Cutler, thanks for joining us on Eat Sleep Fantasy. You got to stop smoking so much. Everybody thinks it was just a meme, but it really sounds like you're smoking a lot. How many cigarettes have you smoked while on this interview here?
Are we done?
Thanks for taking our call, Jay Cutler.
Don't call again.
Yeah. Eat, sleep, fantasy, you rockin' with the best. NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. We talking mock drafts, running backs, better follow the conversation with Dale, Christian, and Armando. Screaming Eat Nation, we doing what we like. Tune in every week, guarantee we get it hype. Fantasy, football enthusiasts, I know you plan to be joining us on Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Yeah, Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Eat, Sleep, Fantasy.
Fall has arrived at JCPenney, the perfect time to refresh your home. From now until Sunday, get up to 50% off select comforter sets, furniture, and the most comfortable mattresses from top brands like Tempur-Pedic, Sealy, Beautyrest, and more. And save 50 to 60% on select sheet sets, plus an extra 15% with your coupon on select home items. Hurry and soon. That's getting your pennies worth. JCPenney. Coupon valid 9/28 to 10/9 on select home items, furniture, and mattresses. Prices valid 9/28 to 10/1. Selections vary by store while supplies last. Savings on regular and original prices. Intermediate markdowns may have been taken. Some exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.